Pretty sure.
Morning, Richland County, 9:30 a.m. on the last day of January, January 31st, 2023. The Richland County Board of Commissioners is now in session. I'm Commissioner Cliff Mears, joined by my fellow commissioners, Tony Vero, Carol Banks, our clerk, Stacy Crowell, County Administrator Andrew Keller, David Morgenstern, and we also have Carl Hunnell from Richland and Al Lawrence from News Journal. Start out today with our biannual economic development review, Julie Perry and her contingent. And if you would give us your title, and each of you can introduce yourselves and give your titles. And then if you want to step up to the Inquisition table, you're welcome to do that as well.
Thanks. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jody Perry. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Economic Development. Just go down the lines. Producing.
Morning, Sandy Messner. I'm Director of Marketing and Communications with the Chamber and Economic Development.
My name is Clint Knight, Director of Workforce Development at the Chamber and Economic Development.
Barrett Thomas, Director of Economic Development, Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development.
Jessica Griffin, Economic Development in Shelby.
We have two board members joining us today.
I'm Jake Penwell, I'm the Vice Chair of our.
Jake Oil, the Chair of the Board for the Chamber and interim.
Ready?
Okay, what's that?
Dive in.
Dive right in.
I mean, you gotta come up to the torture chamber.
Oh, you want to?
Barrett and you
Oh,
torture.
okay. Sorry, my part's gonna be fairly brief.
Barrett,
So-
come on up.
All right, so, well, good morning. We're happy to be back again. 6 months since we last visited. 2022 ended up being very busy for our organization, for the community as a whole. You're gonna hear more about that story this morning. We have been able to present our numbers a little differently this year. So this is kind of an early preview of our annual report focused on the work that you're supporting through economic development, workforce development. On the back page is the stats that you're used to seeing them in the format that you're used to seeing them. I also want to draw your attention to a new page in here, and you'll hear more from Clint about this, but we have another version of that focused on workforce development on the inside back cover. So the team's going to kind of take you through a little bit of their work around each area, but I would just say as a whole, it was a busy year, it was a strong year. You're going to see that reflected in the numbers. There was also a lot of work, though, that took place that isn't necessarily captured in the numbers, work around site development and other things that was really important steps forward for our work in economic development. A lot of relationship building in the workforce development area. And again, some of that's captured in numbers, some of that's a little outside of that, but important work. And then finally, I think last year when we were here a year ago at this time, Sandy Messner had just joined us as our Director of Workforce, or I'm sorry, our Director of Communications and Marketing, sorry. And you're seeing the evidence of, what, adding that capacity to our team really has made a difference in the fact that we're just better able to tell our story overall in the work that's happening already. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Barrett to talk first about economic development.
Thanks. So if you look at this back page, this is the metrics that you're used to looking at. This is as beautiful as we could make stuff without Sandy. So some of these metrics, actually, a lot of these are in this economic development section. So if you have any questions about this, I'll kind of reference some of these, but I'm going to go through this narrative section.
Question, should I wait till the end or ask now?
Feel free.
That back page, building economic output, IMPLAN. It's an acronym for something, I suppose.
It is an acronym for something. I don't know what it is. IMPLAN is kind of the industry standard for economic development modeling. What I did is take these metrics that you see on this page, these 9 projects, the 353 jobs created and 14 million in payroll and the 58 million in CapEx. I took those in their industries and gave them to our friends at Bowling Green's Center for
Regional development.
Regional Development.
They did a plan.
We did. They're helping us with another one.
Oh,
And part of that is
Commissioner Barrow loves plans.
I love.
we get access to their in-plan kind of going forward. So we stick those metrics into that economic development modeling system, and it says what, so direct is, the jobs at your company. Indirect would be jobs related to that project. So, construction projects and other stuff around it. And then induced is kind of the other community spending that happens because those projects exist. So that's a relatively small number, but $105 million in economic impact. So I think the commissioners have invested $100,000 into economic development, and you got 1,000x return, which is
That count
pretty darn.
force investment too through JFS.
No, this is just on the economic development side.
One of the things I'm always curious about is, how do we measure net gain, right? Like these, you can quantify new jobs, you're in the projects, you can look at tax records, et cetera, et cetera. Probably that would be the same on the net side, but how do we know, okay, we've 353 new jobs committed, new payroll committed, fairly quantifiable. How do we know, or how can we measure the net? Meaning, have we lost jobs in other sectors? Have we lost jobs? It's one of the things I've always struggled with in quantifying true economic development is how do we measure net gain?
It's difficult. So all of these metrics that I'm reporting are all ground up metrics. I know exactly which company all of these are assigned to. It's not, I'm not extrapolating, I'm not guessing. And there's metrics that are missing that I'm not including because I don't have answers from companies. And there's also more projects that didn't get included in here. These are all like official economic development projects that we worked on. So, when you invest in your company and you invest in your company, you're adding new equipment and things like that, you might add another job or two. But if I don't know about it, I'm not going to include that. They're all ground up metrics. So what you're asking for is kind of a top down, like total thing. Which is much trickier to get with solid numbers.
Well, even if you, and this isn't your guys's, but I just know with my background on the private side, there are companies that are down 30, 40, 50 jobs, right? So I'm wondering, where are we on the net? If we're adding 353 or we have companies who aren't filling, I'm just curious as to, but that's going on everywhere. I just would love to know that as someone who likes.
Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks that. I don't know how often they're producing it. If it's an annual, well, it's,
I know
it's not,
Yeah,
that's the only way I would know to look at it though. Yeah.
That's those macro top down numbers, which so there's a total employment number. And that's a government number. But, if you don't like that number, it's difficult to get ground up metrics for total employment. And the jobs that people have are changing. So we're getting fewer low skilled jobs, automating more stuff and getting more high skilled jobs of people maintaining those machines and equipment and stuff like that.
What do you guys in the chamber consider an active project in the pipeline? I'm always like, well, now it's a pipeline project, quotation marks, right? What becomes just a problem, a project out in the ethos compared to, okay, now it's in the pipeline? Is there a definition?
I've got it on my spreadsheet.
So if it makes Baird's, which is an acceptable answer, I was just curious, like, well, how do you get in the pipeline? So how does it make the
I'm
Baird
aware of
Thomas spreadsheet?
So it's either a project, like a local project that we're working on. And so I track that on the spreadsheet, or it's a Jobs Ohio lead that comes through and we've actively responded to it and don't have an answer one way yet for like, yes, they're interested in doing a site visit, which we did 5 of last year, which is more than normal. Or they're not interested and they're going to move on and go somewhere else.
So how does it get off the spreadsheet?
By saying we're not going there, or that project isn't happening, or Ohio's not in the running anymore.
You have a time period where it tolls out the statute of limitations.
I'm going to have to, because the feedback I'm getting is getting slower and slower because there's more.
From Jobs Ohio.
From Jobs Ohio.
Not so much from our local companies, but
We look at them on a monthly basis and kind of evaluate, is the company still having that conversation, or have we heard anything? And we'll reach out if we haven't heard from them to try and verify, is this something you're still interested in doing? And a lot of.
Any
them-
companies that we can reach out to.
Yes.
Yeah, we've done.
Yep. So for our local companies, to keep them on the pipeline or take them off.
You have a spreadsheet too, Ms. Scriven? Is it
The
in,
shared
is it
spreadsheet.
in Google? What, I hate Google shared sheets, but
It's okay, you don't have to use it.
no, I hate Google Sheets.
So would Lloyd Rebar be part of these numbers because we approved the tax abatement in January?
No, that would be a 23 metric. So these are all 22 numbers.
So good news, you're off to a good start already.
Yeah.
We've actually got a whole bunch of stuff in the pipeline ready to close for this year. Yeah.
I have more questions, but I'll let you go through.
So kind of looking at the beginning of this, where it says Richland County up at the top, really the thing that we saw was a lot of what I would call supply chain opportunities. So places where the end customer is used to getting their parts on a regular basis. Maybe it's from China, and COVID really impacted China in a massive way and changed globalization. So as our manufacturing globalized over the past couple of decades, that's now changing and coming back as companies are near sourcing, whether that means bringing it from Asia back to North America, or in the case of Ohio Valley Stamping, from Pennsylvania back to Mansfield, where Human Tech says this product isn't getting made, and we need someone local that we can look at and see and say, hey, how is this going? And drive over to your shop and pick up parts if we need to keep production going. So, that was a great expansion project. They went into an underutilized building that had been on the market for a while, kind of looking for the right user. They saw that and went, oh, this is perfect. So we were able to help them kind of get into that building, get some dollars to help renovate that place and make it productive again. So that has been on the market for a while, and it's now off the market as an indication of how tight the industrial market is. PowerSock had a lot of help in that one. The next thing on here, Jobs Ohio inclusion projects. Jessica as well earlier today. Jobs Ohio has always been looking for kind of bigger projects rather than smaller projects. And this inclusion grant process has been a relatively new tool that we've been able to use really effectively in Richland County. So the only county that did more of these projects in Northeast Ohio was Cuyahoga County. And it's an inclusion project, and they have a lot more minority.
Is that based off of the amount of people and per capita though? Because they're significantly larger than us.
No, it is pure number of projects.
That's not fair.
I know, that's how good we are.
It's impressive. There
That's what I mean.
Yeah, we outranked bigger counties. So
you go.
by number, yeah.
So Cuyahoga had 9 of those and we had 6, and then everybody else had 3 or less. So so some of those are, so Global Medical Foam down here at the bottom. Victoria had an expansion opportunity and needed more space. There was a building out behind her, current building, but needed to be renovated. So we got some additional dollars out of Columbus to help support that, which, so the smaller projects take more time to kind of walk company owners through those because they don't do those expansions very often. But they make a big difference. And those are projects where you feel like, I've made a difference in my community, and this is why we do this.
So what does we've had more interest than ever before mean? How do we get to that? Because that's good. And I don't doubt that. I'm just curious as how do we measure that? We've had more interest in our community from outside companies and well, I believe it's supposed to say than ever before, but I think it says than even before.
So that is through the pipelines of projects that are coming through, we're able to actively respond to and say, yes, out of all of these projects that are coming through, we've got a good fit in property and demographics and skill sets for these 4 projects, but not these other 3 projects. So we're only targeting those projects. And we've got more site visits. So companies saying, yes, this is worth our time to fly in and go check this out.
And I mean, from an attraction standpoint, economic, I mean, it's a numbers game. You need
Right.
to be putting your projects or your buildings and sites out, and you're gonna lose most of them. But you gotta have them out there, and then, you know, the next level would be a site visit. And then obviously the next level would be landing it. So to have, I mean, 5 site visits last year way outranks any other year we've had. We had, I think the year before we were at maybe 3, which was a big one. But you know, to see that much activity really is a good sign. And a lot of it is related to some of the stuff you're hearing macro. You know, Intel or the battery projects, the electric vehicle projects. There's suppliers that are definitely looking, and we're well positioned for those, but they're not all related to that.
So it's interesting, 3 of those 5 are German family-owned companies. So they are from, you know, they're family-owned, they're from smaller communities in Germany. They come here and they go, yeah, this feels right. This feels like home. And the demographics in Europe are changing, so they're interested in and the energy prices there are changing. So that's another big part of this. So when they need an expansion and they look at where are costs reasonable, where can we get in access to the markets that we need to grow in, which is normally the US market. And you know, the demographics in Europe are changing, so it's tougher to find pipelines of talent. Where can we find effective pipelines of talent, demographic wise, and who is training those people to go into our companies? I mean, Richland County does really well in all of those. So we've got affordable power rates, and we've got good sites that we have good information for, and we've got fantastic pipelines of talent. Thank you. So.
So when, in your opinion, do we land? I understand there's a little bit of forecasting, so I'm not holding you this, but you know, we talk about the next big project. I'm not talking about Intel, because I mean, just the requirements for that site just can't be done here. So I get that. When do you feel we will land? So where can the 3 of us help you land the next big project? It's not just about us saying, okay, Chamber, go out and land us big projects. When can we help with the next big project? What are we missing? When do we feel we can land the next big project? How do we as government help our community land that big project?
Question. So Intel and some of those larger projects require site control. So site control is always a prime importance.
And a big topic of discussion.
It's a big topic of discussion. So you know, we have a fantastic site in the Arrow site that is large. It's 410 acres, but it's got 6 different owners. So having site control of that, bring that under one landowner, getting the annexation finished, and you know, water and sewer to the entire site. That makes a huge difference in our ability to attract those big projects. So right now I'm trying, so that's gets into the site development. So we took Arrow through that site development, Site Ohio process. It's difficult to do with 6 owners. So the site consultant that came in said, no, I'm not talking to you about that. That's it. So getting that covered in site control, or what we're doing is saying, you know, we can sell smaller pieces of this and market them as single owners, which make it easier to get under control. So
But probably 90% of our attraction opportunities that we're seeing over the last year have been 100+ acres.
Right.
And plus, like up to 3, 4.
Is that related to Intel or other industries?
all kinds of stuff. So the last project we got that was big, I think, was solar manufacturing.
Yes.
And they reached out to us and said, you know, Jobs Ohio is looking at this statewide and saying, where could we put this? There's only so many places. And they called us and said, hey, you've got this site that's 400 acres. We'd love information about this site for this project. You know, great, I'm happy to do that. But eventually it's going to be, well, so who owns it? Who's the owner? Well, there's not There's 6 owners. We can kind of herd those cats, and we've done a lot of that work, but there's 6 different owners, and they go,
Intel was one owner, was it not? And wasn't it uniquely or vast majority was one owner?
that was a whole bunch of different owners and family farms. But they had one company, the New Albany company, that went and got it all under control. They went and, they had the capital to go buy the land, and they took, so like I'm going as the realtor and I'm bringing my counselor with me to talk to you about buying your family farm because you've been there forever and you don't want to give it up, but she's going to talk to you about how that works with your family and what you do and how to work through that.
Here's a big giant check.
And here's the
It's your pain.
Funny how that works.
That's how they did that. So they didn't have site control, but they had deep pockets to go get site control. And when Intel finally arrived, they had one owner.
But that doesn't happen if you don't know Intel's on the back end saying if you make this happen.
Well, there are communities doing that because to get access to these projects, they know site control.
Okay, good discussion.
So I think we've probably covered most of these things.
Did your formatting, by the way, presentation?
On this,
But it's all Sandy.
Ooh, with the new
Oh.
branding
So
too.
this is
Nice,
pre-Sandy.
right,
with-
I mean,
but our graphic design wasn't okay, but.
very well done.
So when I get new companies coming through county saying, do we want to be here? Let's go do a site visit. Our marketing material looks like this now, and we look like we know what we're doing, as opposed to me doing a hack job. Okay. Fast.
Nice job, Sandy.
Any other questions? You're up.
All right, so we'll talk first about the housing study. Thank you again for your contribution to that. You guys really kicked it off. I guess I'll move to Patsy. We did our first kind of public introduction to the final of the housing study last week. Should have that document in our hands in the next week or two that we'll be able to share with everybody and really talk about, some of the results of the housing study, where we are today, and then most importantly, the strategy that's going to come with it. So super excited about that. Through that process, so I got my certified economic developer certification this year through the state. Part of that requires you to do basically a case study within your community or some sort of project. And the housing study was what I used for that. And interestingly enough, 4 years ago, when I started in economic development, we'd go to conferences and we'd talk about, we talk about workforce. It was always top of mind, and we talk about site development. And now every time I go to a economic development class or a seminar or a conference, housing is like right at the top of the list. So I feel like we're kind of getting ahead of that, looking at economic development as a holistic practice. So not just looking for site control on industrial, but how do we prepare our communities for the workforce that we need in the future too? So we're doing the same business retention and expansion visits in Shelby, with the exception of we see a lot of industry, but we also see all of the Main Street businesses. In case you haven't heard, there's a lot going on in Shelby right now. So Main Street was closed for a good part of the summer and the best shopping days of the year. So that was challenging. We were able to help our small businesses kind of get through those challenges, provide maps for detours. Sandy helped with that again. And get them all together in the same room so we could talk about like, how is this going to work? How do you prefer to have communication? How can the city best handle this process in a way that's going to impact your business the least, which is hard to do when the street is closed. We have had some success with new business attraction, which all of the public dollars that went into Main Street and those private dollars that are going into the park, that's kind of the impetus for all of that, to create a community that people want to live in and a community that's friendly to business. I think we're seeing the fruits of those labors already with new businesses on Main Street, as well as, if you haven't heard, we're going to have a brewery opening up on Mansfield Avenue going into Shelby, which we're super excited about. It'll be a great complement to the vault that's already there that kind of started that downtown revitalization. Excellent things there. We did start a facade improvement grant that council has funded over the last 3 years. It has kind of grown each year to add users of that. There's been $20,000 of public funds that have gone into that grant, and then there's been $60,000 in private spending that have improved buildings on Main Street, mostly in that central business district area. As you know, Lloyd Rebar is expanding, so that'll be a project for next year, but we did have a grant through the traditional Jobs Ohio funding that we got for a company that's just outside of the city of Shelby. Certainly affects the city's economy, but they are going to be growing right here in Shelby. There was an opportunity for them to leave Ohio altogether. They changed ownership. New owner was in North Carolina. And through new leadership there, and then we were able to connect them with Jobs Ohio resources. They are going to grow right here in Ohio and stay in Richland County. So super excited about that. Adds 16 jobs over the next 3 years, but also saves all the jobs that are currently existing in that company. So super excited about that. To your point about the pipeline, a lot of these projects start off, they're ready to go, or they seem like they're ready to go, but then they just end up taking a lot longer than we anticipate. So Lloyd Rebar is a company we've worked with in the past and will continue to work with. And it just, they are thinking about it, and it goes in our pipeline, and we start to gather resources and start to have those conversations. And then when it's ready to go, it's like, we go now. So there are a couple more of those that are looking really good for 23 that hopefully we'll be able to report on next time we're here.
I would just highlight, Jessica did win our, the
Rookie of the year, or I mean.
of the year,
Snyder.
our state association. So, that was, thanks to her work and effort, and thanks to Barrett for nominating her. But it's a big deal. That's a statewide award. So, and in her position, of course, is funded through kind of a unique partnership with the Shelby Community Improvement Corporation. Jake also serves as the president of that. So City of Shelby funds, Shelby Foundation, CIC funds, Bicycle Days, and then the chamber itself put funds in for that. So it's been a unique thing.
And I'll add for your benefit, that started with a plan. So if you want to know how to execute a plan, talk to Shelby.
Best is when Jody says we need a plan to execute the plan for the plan. That's when I get really excited.
That's how you get the funding.
You need a plan. There we go.
Excellent. Clint?
All right. So I've probably had an opportunity to look at most of the narrative here and a lot of the metrics, but when we look at workforce development in the last year, the work has been in two different buckets. One is in the business attraction side. How do we make sure we're prepared to tell our story to businesses that are looking to come here? As Barrett mentioned, we had 5 site visits. So it's been gathering all of that data, putting it together, working with Sandy to put it together in a way that is presentable to companies and in a way to sell our community. So you're aware of a ton of work that's been put together in the branding and building presentations for that purpose. The other is, how do we make sure that our businesses that are here can maintain to do the work and fulfill the contracts that they have? So how do we create those pipelines so that they're continuously gaining employees as employees retire or move on? How do we make sure that pool is there for them? The first that's mentioned here in our narrative is the talent attraction and media campaigns. So we put a large sum of money through the business outreach dollars through the Area 10 Workforce Development Board into a video campaign, a podcast campaign, still photography, items that we can use, content that we can use to help tell that story. Things that we can send with the company after they've come to visit and say, hey, we talked to you about this here. On your way back, listen to this podcast or watch this video. Tools that we can give to teachers to use in the classroom to tell the story of our employers that manufacturing is not what it used to be. These are the things that you can do here. Did you know that this manufacturer makes these really unique things here that you didn't even know were made in Richland County? How do we create those tools to tell the story and those visuals? So far, the video campaign alone has had over 82,000 views, which is a huge number for that to be as young as it is. Those videos have only been posted probably for about 6 months. And of the 35 videos, we're finished in the last 2 of those right now. This video about Deca manufacturing is one of those. Did you want to show that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have
Or you wanna
questions?
wait for?
Tony, you have questions about this?
I just love the Cam Herring glamour shot there personally.
Mhm.
What Oh, he's like 22, by the way. Wait till I see him. Look at that. I'm like, damn.
So we can watch this. It's about 2.5 minutes as an example of how we're marketing the careers and the environments that are available here in the county.
Got great sound.
I bet it does. I,
That's what Cam really looks like. Is the volume on the computer muted, Stacy, by any chance?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. Oops, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. No, great.
Well, if not, it's okay.
Oh, no, we need the sound.
So when we worked with the employers when we're teeing up the employers to participate in this, we talked to them about selecting participants for the interviews that are going to best tell the story. They're going to be best representatives of Richland County and show success stories. So I started here. This is why I'm here. I've gone from this position to this position over the years and really showcasing those opportunities for employers. And this is not only manufacturing, these are done in healthcare, insurance, manufacturing, construction. So we've created a wide variety of these videos.
You need me to call Matt?
I don't know what else. My computer volume's on, that volume's on. I don't know what else to do.
Well, we'll send you the link.
The link is,
Volume's on the TV, just out of curiosity?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's not it.
Yeah, that's something else.
Okay.
Somebody's cell phone, I think.
I was like, it sounds nice. It's good background music. Well, that's okay. We can always swing back to it. But you can keep talking and you get an idea at least of what they look like. They're visually stunning.
So again, that was these efforts were funded through business outreach funds through Area 10 Workforce Development Board. Another thing as far as developing those pipelines of the career exploration programs and Career Institute, which is a hands-on, very specific hands-on way for young people to experience what those opportunities are. Instead of just walking through and taking a tour of a facility, they're actually involved in work, whether they're being paid for their work, if it's seasonal during the summer, whether it's one of the Career Institute programs where they're working on a work-based learning project that's specific to that employer, or if it's an internship. So we've worked really hard with a variety of partners. You can see here that Spark was awarded the grant with Mid-Ohio Educational Services Center for Hire program, $1.9 million for all 3 counties. And we worked really hard to make sure we had the right partners, the right business partners to create those experiences for students. So between those 2 programs over the last year, 186 students have been immersed in over 20 different businesses across the county. So that 186 students is specific to Richland County.
What's the youngest student?
Freshmen in portion of those programs. Not counted in this number is the Regional Manufacturing Coalition's manufacturing days, and those are middle school and elementary school students. So there are other groups that are doing younger work. Leader Richland is coming back this year, which is a program that hasn't happened over the last 3 years due to COVID, and that is middle school students as well. There's going to be almost 1,000 students that will go through the Leader Richland program.
Like 13, 14 years old?
Yes, 12,
Yeah.
12 or 12, 11, 12, 13, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, yes. So between Richland Manufacturing Coalition, I believe they said 1,300.
I think they said 700 last year. Their highest was 1,300.
Yes.
But they said 700.
So roughly 2,000 middle school students. Some of those are going to be duplicative. Some of them were in both programs. We'll see than those programs. So, but those are happening. And with Leader Richland specifically, we're involved in helping create the business connections and some of the school connections and make sure the students are there. Job fairs, Employee Meet Palooza was new for last year. This was another high school centered programming event where we created a job fair, but students were manned the table instead of the employers. So they were selling themselves to employers, and the employers had the opportunity to come and spend several hours walking around talking to various students. So we had 17 hires from that. We had nearly 50 students participated in that last year. And 17 of them worked to work that we were able to track.
A third of them got hired.
Yes.
And potentially more.
That we just don't know
We
about.
depend on people reporting back to us if they hired kids.
So one of the-
from that, So.
Interesting opportunities of this work is I showed up to Hamilton Insurance to do their employer profile video, like the DECA one, and ran into a student that I met she got the job at Employee Meet Palooza, and she was working, and she'll be featured in their video when it comes out. So it's happening, and I don't think that was one that I had tracked in my numbers, but I just happened to see her when I
That in the pipeline?
yeah.
You can use a spreadsheet.
Prove it.
Something told me it's probably accurate.
So the adult job fair, 87 job seekers, that number is way up from the year before. So the trend is we're seeing a trend that job seekers are coming back out and applying and looking for work. And there's proof in that we almost doubled that number from the previous year, which was a rough year for the job fair. And on the job training incumbent worker program, one of the things I spend a lot of time doing along with Barrett and Jessica when we talk to companies is informing them of the dollars that are available through the Area 10 Workforce Development Board and JFS to upskill and use with new hires, the dollars that are available for those incumbent and on the job training programs. So we saw an increase in that last year. We used over $12,000 in training, in specific training. Four employers went through that project with those projects. And I can tell you that right now I have 9 active applications and it's January 31st. So all of the work that we've done with this marketing that Barrett and Jessica have done in helping me spread this word about those dollars that are available to us, I believe that number 12,000 is going to be.
Cable assemblies.
Hey.
Essentially the electronic nervous system, many piece of equipment.
Yo,
Got a number of different customers that use this, but electronic wire harnesses are used.
I will be a lot higher in the 22-23 fiscal
We
year.
do military applications. We do a lot of automotive stuff. I like to see a Ford car driving down the road and I can think it's possible I might have put a wire harness in that car. Just knowing that we have those products out in applications like that makes me proud.
I purchased the company in 2018. It's been around since 1976. I'm just an entrepreneur at heart with a passion for manufacturing, and I wanted to get back to my hometown, so it seemed like a natural fit. What drew me to DECA was the people and the opportunity that I saw to grow it. It was like a garden that just needed to be tended to, really.
When we first started here, it was just simple cables, simple assemblies like that. We branched out.
We have grown quite considerably in the past few years. We are opening up to more opportunities where we're doing more aerospace applications and definitely newer automotive things. I think our company will continue to blossom.
The people I work with here at DECA are across the map. We've got a lot of good people that really believe in this place. And to me, this is like a second family. And I believe there's quite a few others out there that feel the same way.
It's interesting because there's a wide variety of personalities, and it's been enjoyable for me to get to know a lot of people. With my job, I get to move around throughout the shop, get to interact with a lot of different ones, and it's enjoyable to make new friends. And
if you come to DECA, you're going to be treated as a real person. You're going to know the owner. You're going to know your supervisor. You're going to be able to work with them. I'm out on the floor daily and get to work with nice, real, actual humans.
Most people don't come into DECA with training. They don't come in with the knowledge of wires and terminals and what it should look like, what it shouldn't look like, and how that's supposed to happen.
I started at the bottom. I was building wire harnesses. So as you learn basic steps, you'll learn more throughout the industry and you can move up in the company. So it is definitely something that you can grow in, and it is a very good field to be in.
It doesn't matter where you've been, it doesn't matter where you are, that is for you.
So again, there's 35 of those total that are populated on the Richland Works website, which is web page, which is part of the chamber website, and it has its own. So that's a lot of information. What other kind of questions can I answer? Okay.
Last but not least, Sandy. Oh,
Hello.
I'm glad that video was. That video campaign has been amazing for telling the story of and what it's like, the cultures of. Those are stories that no one really knows about, you know, when I'm just around talking about, oh, I was just at this place and we had this, I saw these huge auger boring machines that make tunnels under roads. People are like, wait, what? That's here in Linn County? Like, yes, so much more. So it's great to get those stories out, but even more so for people who are looking for jobs, people who are wondering what is it like to be in a certain industry. These actually give a view of what it's like to be inside those businesses, what it's like to work with the people there. So a lot of times when a person goes for an interview, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into, you know. And this is it's a unique perspective for young students looking at what career they want to go into, or people wanting to move into the area, people that might want to find different opportunities in the area. So it's a great asset to have to help build our community. So yeah, thank you for playing that. When I first started with the chamber last year, one of my first roles was aligning our brand with the community. Brand was new and fresh, and so how do we blend this in with what we already have? The narrative that Medium Giant brought to us, you know, how do we really get that out there of Richland County being this community of wonderful people? So we've built that into a lot of our materials. You see throughout this, on this page, there's space for creating, you see space for, and a lot of that. So that was a campaign that the branding company Medium Giant came up with. And that's Richland County. There is space much here. So we're really running with that. So we've blended that into our digital, our printed materials. Strong visuals, and thankfully this Richland Works project helped us create a lot of assets. We were lacking the visuals to tell our story. You know, you can't tell the story without having good videos and good pictures. So through this campaign, we were able to gather those assets, and we can use them in so many areas. We have been using them. Some of the pictures we gathered through the photography through Richland Works, we're using in Google Ads, you know, just to push the Google Ads. I mentioned that over on the second page here, or page 8. So the Google Ads, we started that late 2021, a grant from the Richland County Foundation and Google for Nonprofits. So now we're incorporating that community brand in with the Google Ads. And just since that started, we've had over 2,000 visits to our properties. So helping these, you know, we have a team full of driven, very, very bright people, and they're busy doing their jobs. So through marketing, it's increasing the power of what they're already accomplishing. So it's been great to help grow that. Our social
Expensive.
So
You're seeing a good return on.
So our Google for Nonprofits, we actually get $10,000 a month in free advertising
Because we're a nonprofit.
which is incredible. And that's incredible.
Free is good.
Paying for them, they are expensive.
Yeah,
So, yes.
yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah, very thankful for that. It's, yeah, we definitely don't want to just let that go.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Our social media presence has grown. Our audience has grown by 20%. Our Facebook presence is pretty solid. So we're focusing, putting a lot of effort towards LinkedIn and Indeed now, which is going to get on the radar for the site developers and, you know, the different audience that we want to bring here. So
Jody Lee and I met a couple weeks ago. I have on my calendar to double back on a county-wide branding video that maybe the county and the chamber and CVB can partner on. We got that idea a couple years ago when we went to Franklin County. The commissioners there, or not Franklin, Delaware. They did some internally, which we'll probably talk about, but they also partnered with, I think, their local chamber on an excellent Delaware County branding video. And I thought it might be a good time. So Lee's doing some legwork on that. Have you heard?
Yep. Yeah, I think he talked to the branding company initially, so we should be getting a call set up. So, yep,
So those things work.
yeah.
10,000 a month, right?
Which is probably like one ad in Google world,
I
but
mean, it can get eaten up
like-
quickly,
yeah,
but you know,
we have workforce and economic development, so properties and talent attraction going simultaneously using that funding.
So that's another thing that like RCDG's had for a while, but we just didn't have the capacity to activate it until Sandy was here.
good job, Sandy.
Sandy, Matt.
Well, and I will say too, just from being on the board years ago, we've always said, there's so many good things happening here. How do we tell people that? We finally can do it, and success begets success. People see a thriving community, and that's the story we're telling. They want to be part of that. So.
That's like right out of page 3 of the binder there, Gerben.
I read it. That's why we have the binder.
It's like, say this, page 3.
I was gonna add to your question earlier about, you know, how can you help us? I really think that one of the biggest ways that you can help us is by telling the story of Richland County. I appreciate that we get to come here and share. Obviously, you know, the support that you're giving us financially is crucial to our ability to do the work. But I love coming and being able to share and see the stories that come out about the successes, because those stories go way beyond Richland County. And so, you know, the conversations that you have, they could be at your commissioners' conferences, they could be things that you're saying here or in other places that you're networking, you know, helping us tell the story that our community is successful, that it's growing, that we have space for you here in Richland County, I think is a huge way that you can, and you already are helping us with that. But you know, don't undercount that ability to assist with that, because that's huge. General questions, anything Jay or Jake you want to add to anything that we said?
We're very appreciative that the commissioners have given us when we've been talking about this beforehand and asking for the commissioner what will happen. There's like, well, everything on this page is very well happen to remain at the same degree. So, you know, very much appreciate that all of you are going to support our effort.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, I think, and Jody hinted at this too, but I mean, the investment, I mean, without financial investment, we all know that things cannot happen. And that's much appreciated on our end to know that we have financial support and that we're able to do the things that we do. And I think sometimes also, because as we come and start thinking outside of the box on site control, on various things and projects that will require a different pot of financial investment, but also things that will make us put us on the map for growth and for landing different companies and helping people here expand also can't be. And we just appreciate what you're doing for us.
The investment is critical, right? One of our board members, I can hear Jody's gonna chuckle. You had mentioned it, and so I did want to mention if it's possible in the future to look at some dedicated funding stream for economic development activities. I think that just serves the at large well.
Well, it wouldn't be a meeting without Jody asking for money, so at 10:19,
It's certainly not an ask.
hey, she made it almost an hour.
Jody didn't ask, we asked.
No, you're lumped in.
It's obviously not an ask for today, but just something to consider for down the road.
She's still not at the Chris Harris DeWanna Patton level of when they ask you to lunch, but she gets closer with each day.
As board members, she's doing her job.
Yeah.
Not at that level, but
Investment that we have made has paid off, and we appreciate what all you're doing. We see you working on workforce, filling up space, bringing people in, bringing people from Germany to do business here. We got the workforce, we got the space, the logistics. What a great place, the logistics here in our county. And one thing we got to look at for down the road is Germans are coming here because we have reasonably priced power. And I know that's not something you can do, but I think as a country, we got to figure out how we're going to do that. Or the Germans aren't going to invest in our people, invest in our county, and nor from anywhere else. And without reasonably priced power, none of us are going to be in business. Well, Jacob.
ah,
Still costs a lot to turn the lights on.
all right. I think it's some Italian companies up in here. I mean, come on, there's not a lot of Italians.
Some connections for us.
Cheers.
Happy to go to Italy and
I know. I mean, let's go. Good. That's right. Don't mess with us. So
I'll make one last comment. The more I see this new logo, the more I think it is so way cool.
we're not done. We're gonna do that video. We're gonna spruce it up. Maybe we should loop in the guru over here, apparently.
she'll be, yeah, don't worry, she's. I'm gonna tag out.
It's a great
Again.
video. That was a really good video by Delaware.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the community brand, you'll continue to see roll out more and more through us, through Destination Mansfield. And we're about to launch on a visit with each of our communities to kind of make sure they have the assets, help them understand how to use the brand. You know, we'll be doing a more official visit with the county too, to just, say, here's the information, here's ways that you can think to use it, and then, brainstorm ways that we can do things together. The video is a really great example of that. So, we want it to be the community's brand. It's not just the Chambers brand or Destination Mansfield's brand, but everyone can own it.
Better. Carl, anything?
Oh, a whole litany of things. I guess I'd start with. Harold already said this and Tony's left the room, but I guess he's in his own executive session. Are the commissioners satisfied with the return on investment that you made the last couple of years? I think, Harold, you've already answered that.
Yes, I did, and I am still.
Oh, I'm delighted. I mean, I think we just heard the results of our investment. I think the return on our investment is exponential. $10,000 a month. Wow. Hard time getting over that.
Mine today, yeah.
That's very impressive, but yeah, I'm delighted. I had said not that long ago that Richland County is the place to be, and I hear things like this, and I'm even more energized that, the assets we have, the resources we have, we're not close to being optimized, but you all are getting us there. So I'm just absolutely delighted with the progress we're making. I really am.
And I heard mention of a 410 acre aero site. What is that?
Sorry, that's classified.
Mention it in a public meeting.
So-
It becomes unclassified.
So do you know?
Meant to be found at Daryl's house, classified document.
Thinking Ashland aero.
Right there, though.
Do you know where the Airport West
Yes.
site is? So it's just north of that, north of Crawl. That there's 410 acres there.
And it's
That is, yeah,
Out there.
Like-
Missed over.
airport, aerospace.
You said it's 410 acres. It's owned by 6 different people, so site control.
Yeah.
At this point is so. Great talk about successes, things that are accomplished in 2022. Jody and anybody else, what was the biggest miss in 2022, and what did you learn from it?
That's a good question. I mean. Not having. Jessica saying not having our communications material earlier. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, you know, we talked earlier that we did 5 site visits. Obviously, we didn't land all of those projects. Again, that's not unusual, and that's just the name of the game. I think that what we learned though from all of those, and I don't really consider them misses. Of course, we'd like to land 100% of them, but every single time we debrief, we kind of do the autopsy of the visit of like, okay, here's what went well, here's what didn't. Next time, let's do this. And I think we just most recently did one in December, and we all walked away. I mean, it's still, again, we were like, okay, small tweaks, we should have, but by and large, we were like, wow, that finally, like, it just, everything fired on all cylinders, the folks, and there's a lot more people than just us that are in the room at those. And, from a workforce perspective, people just answered the way that they needed to hear. And so it felt like all of those efforts that we've been building towards for years really were paying off. So that's what I would
Can I
add.
see one thing up on that maybe? I think it might have been caught as a long-term miss, but it was eye-opening. Some things are very obvious, but we don't always see them until somebody actually just tells us. Maybe you can tell them a little bit about the site visit where the group came in and told us what's wrong with things that we have, like what we can start fixing.
Site Ohio.
Because that overall has been a long-term miss, but now is the point for where we can move forward. Site Ohio. Yeah. I think that's helpful to know where we've been missing, whether we knew we were or not.
Yeah.
Sure. So for Site Ohio, that was, I don't know who I'm talking to. It's a little strange. Site Ohio is where we had just like copious amount of details on all the properties. We took 3 properties through, and then we had these consultants come in from South Carolina that do this, that run these projects, and then also do consulting to communities. So they came through and evaluated all those properties and said, why your baby's ugly. Like, this is a great site, except it needs these things to be effective. And one of them, they just said, look, this is a great site, but it's not an industrial site. Maybe it's a future residential site, but it's not industrial. Stop talking about it. Oh, okay, thanks.
Didn't know it would be zoned industrial.
It was
Not currently zoned industrial, I don't think. Right?
yeah, and utility issues, and it's not going to work for an industrial site. And
We wanted to spin it into that. That's what we were trying to do. And they said, it's
Don't do
not
that.
gonna work. So it's like, great, we won't spend any more time trying to do it.
where the effort it would take to get to that point, it's not going to happen. So go put your effort into these other things that are working. So the Arrow site was their favorite, but it has 6 owners, and they said, hard pass. Fix the ownership thing. It's a perfect site. The way we approach the Ontario Commerce Park is different because of its relationship with the developer there. They have a different take development, so it is going to fit different types of projects. So that was kind of laid out and more clear. So that was really helpful and helped us, I guess. Yeah, like if systematically we were missing on those because we didn't understand those sites from that perspective. Now we can.
Yeah, I think just in general, I'm not sure that I didn't always understand this, but some of the leads that we're taking are coming from Jobs Ohio, and we can roll out the red carpet, and they're doing that. And we don't even know what the company's doing. I mean, they say they need this, this, and this. And you basically have to sell them on very few facts and prove that Richland County is the place to put these companies. And so having information of where we were maybe missing, or we were saying, look at this, and they're like, don't even bring that one up, or don't spend it in industrial or whatever, whether that's local, or some of these Jobs Ohio sites. I thought that was a major win overall.
And I
Things we're missing.
I would just add to that, the thing that constantly frustrates us is we very rarely ever get feedback. So, you know, you send these, you know, we get a lead from Jobs Ohio, we send stuff back. It just sometimes disappears into the ether, and you don't know why did your project not move forward, or why did it? Even sometimes when it does, you don't exactly know why. Is it, you know, why are we getting a site visit totally? And so this was basically Jobs Ohio. Think of it as we got a grant from Jobs Ohio basically to hire these site consultants to actually come in and give us real feedback. And that is very valuable. And it's one of those things that doesn't show up in the numbers, but one of the best things that happened last year was because it was very helpful in helping us to pivot in how we're doing things. So
When was that visit by Ohio?
July. Yep.
Is it one word, site Ohio, like Jobs Ohio?
Yeah, with 2 capital letters.
SITE.
The other thing I would say is our ability to accurately describe workforce development. So that's one of those things that is difficult to describe because it's all people. Site selectors are often saying, yeah, I wouldn't really believe anything you guys say anyway, because you all say it's true. So until recently, we haven't had clear metrics on the programs that we've put in place and how many students are going through there. So the metrics you see on this list put us in a different category in when we're competing. So when we're talking about 186 students going through those workplace experiences, those are metrics that other communities don't have. So that's something that you've started, which totally changes it.
Right. So Tony, you mentioned earlier something about the numbers that you didn't trust, like they
Say I didn't trust.
no, not these numbers.
Not our
I'm talking
numbers,
about- You're talking about
The neighbor statistics.
they scrape those numbers, you know, from the internet. They see the same workforce numbers that you would go look at Google. Fine, they see that before they get here. But when they get here, we're able to show them a far more granular and specific and accurate representation of what we're doing and the results of the work that we're doing. Because we're involved in that, we know the partners. Trying to help move forward.
Of the 5 site visits, what's the status of those 5?
One that we thought we had a good shot at, that was the first one. That was in February. That project still has not gone anywhere. They haven't landed anywhere. It's not coming here, but so far it hasn't gone anywhere. That's how active these things are, and then they just kind of go on hold. 3 of those are still currently active. So one was in November, one was in December, 2 were in December. When the other was. So those are still active, and one of them may still happen because a lot of them are looking at the same space.
So only one of the 5 is definitely said we're not coming there.
Yes,
But they haven't said they're going anywhere else yet.
they haven't announced where they're going. Yeah, they still don't.
They're on the spreadsheet.
They're not on my spreadsheet.
You're in a plan.
That tab to the site tab transferred over.
I'm curious, the 3 companies, family-owned companies from Germany you mentioned, what kind of industry or what kind of manufacturing they do? And what is prompting them to look at North Central Ohio?
So all of them are kind of in manufacturing. Let's see, one of them was auto related, but I mean, a lot of them are kind of advanced.
General advanced manufacturing.
They're looking here for, so energy costs in Germany are problematic, to say the least. Demographics and the lead them towards North America plus the market, and having that made in, say, stamp makes a big difference today. And then our workforce pipeline. is what, so probably logistics and access to population. And thus markets. So, from 500 miles from here, you're getting 50 or 60% of the US and Canadian markets. And then specifically here, the talent pipelines directed sites.
And I would just add that obviously, we're not going to Germany to recruit these businesses, but Jobs Ohio has a pretty active international, and Team Neo. Yeah, they both have active international attraction programs. So, then how locally we benefit is, they're bringing those leads into the system and we respond. So
We work really well with our team rep too, and she is helpful, the role who does the international.
Yeah. Grew up here.
More, but for the sake of time, we'll save it. Only write one.
You got their numbers.
Right, multiple stories.
Al, you still on there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Any questions?
But just if I could have a copy, Jody, of that report that you've got
Yep.
in front of you, I'd appreciate it. That'll help me a lot, and maybe, I don't know whether you can send any of the others that people have in their hands.
I sent you the email out.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, it's a
my
It's a
email
Dropbox
doesn't
link,
work.
Al. Okay. Yeah, we'll make sure you get it. It's so big, we can't attach it, but it's in a Dropbox app, so.
Oh, I can send I saved it to PDF. I'll send it to you.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Any last comments or questions? Hey,
Well, thank you again.
thank you all for coming. Very much. So we've been in session about now.
He's in your lobby.
Yeah, good idea.
You have telling the story? Okay.
Yeah, he wants to talk to Daryl.
It's not intentional.
Yep.
It is 10:45 a.m. The County Board of Commissioners is back in session. Rachel Troy here from Civil Services. Do we have Al still online?
Yes, he's there.
Okay. And Andrew Keller and the same cast of characters and commissioners. Is he crawled back from recess? I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session to consider the proposals for the purchase of janitorial products.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
We always try.
Rachel's efficient.
It is 10:53. Jefferson County Board of Commissioners is back in session. We've been discussing janitorial products and the bids that have been received. I would like to have a motion to enter into a contract with Friendly Wholesale for purchase of janitorial products and chemicals for a 1-year term, renewable for up to 3 years.
Second.
Mears,
Yes.
Banks.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
I
you.
want to go over your custodial cleaning
Yeah, okay.
and your custodial.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was still thinking janitorial. Yes.
No,
The 30-day extension.
31 day. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. It is 31 days. Yes. So with this particular contract, it does take a little bit of time that if we do get a new vendor, they would have to get background checks on their employees. And we are really close to, once we award it, the contract would then expire. So I'm asking for an extension of 31 days. That'll give a little bit of wiggle room if we do get a new vendor in. And I did talk to Melinda from Ashland Cleaning, and she said she was in agreement to extending the contract for
And we have the right to send up to 60 days, but
60 days.
30 right now.
Correct. Yes.
Just to make it distinction, our previous discussion was about products and materials. This is for labor for cleaning services.
Correct. Yes.
Can I have a motion to extend the cleaning contract with Ashland Cleaning for 31 days?
Yes.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Rachel.
Absolutely. Thank you.
To us. Rest of our agenda. I have a motion to certify record of proceedings for January 26, 2023.
Moved.
Second.
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
I have a motion to approve requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Load of appropriations and transfers. Could I have a motion to approve?
I'll have to make some amendments. The first one would simply be on the first child support request. It's not an increase in appropriation. It's actually just a transfer from salaries to payouts to accommodate termination. And if you look at the sheriff's first request on the CPP for the training and the 272 fund, she's seeking an appropriation from certified but yet appropriated, unappropriated. So the money's been certified, it hasn't been appropriated. So I need to just do corrections.
With the 2 corrections, I will second. And I sure appreciate the members who, the people that, financial people that turn these in, that give us both the accounts and the account. The account is coming out.
Name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful to me too.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Okay, we've been asked to accept 3 parcels and right of ways actually for the Brubaker Creek Road. It turns out, I talked to Adam about this. There's 4 parcels that we'd like to have additional right of way, 3 of which are represented in this requested approval. 2 have been donated to us, and the 3rd, they've asked for $5,600 to come out of Adam's bid fund.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Next, we're requested to authorize promotion of a CSEA employee. Emmy Twitchell.
So moved.
Mears.
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
A motion to certify the LEPC membership, 26 people through August 9th, 2023.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Next item of business is to approve a change order for the fairgrounds roof project. This is something that was uncovered when flashing was removed. Total of $1,521.
Just a quick, Andrew, do you have any information on that?
Sure. So just to revisit project. Here's jointly contracted with the Fair Board to replace roofs on 3 buildings, Fairhaven Hall, Arts and Crafts, and Youth Building. The contractor, RJ Kirkland, was the lowest and best bid at $596,060. They are largely complete with the project. They did discover something that was unknown that led to them requesting a $1,521 change order. That's what Commissioner Mears is referring to. The architect has approved this change order and recommends it. It's for additional work done on the roof at Fairhaven. At the gable ends, when the flashing was removed, the metal building roof deck did not extend to the exterior wall, created a gap in the deck of approximately 6 inches. They had to properly support that new roof membrane with preservative treated lumber. It was 200 lineal feet and the cost was $7.60 per foot material and labor. So
Andrew, we had initially put in 596 is what I have. What do we think that total is gonna come to now?
well, we would recommend the board approve an amended notice of expenditure in the amount of $597,581.
Less than 0.3% additional. Pretty small.
And there will be another forthcoming item involving snow guards on this project, but the maintenance lieutenant at the fairgrounds is still gathering some information on that. So
That will come in the form of a change order though, will it?
that will not likely. I think he's seeking some.
So moved.
Okay.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Last order of business we have is to approve an amended ARPA expenditure for this work we just discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
Business to come before the Board of Commissioners this morning.
I just have one quick question.
Okay.
Those right of way things, was that for a bridge project?
Yes, it's for a bridge project on Brubaker Creek Road, just north of the airport, a little bit east of State Route 13. But yes, you're right, it is for a bridge replacement.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Being no further business, the Richland County Board of Commissioners stands adjourned at 11:02 a.m.